Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Beamer Barn. My name is Chris, and today, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title, I'm going to be showing you guys the new 335i project that we're going to be adding to the channel today. And as you can see, it is actually one of the cheapest ones that I could find on Facebook Marketplace, and that is what led me to pick it up. So I'm not going to tease a bunch. If you would do me a favor, please like this video, and if you're not, please subscribe as well. And let's go ahead and take a look at this wonderful machine that I just bought. So here it is. This is my new to me 2008 335i. You see we've got the mirrors folded right now. The car unlocks, so that is a good thing. And let's go ahead and take a quick peek. It's even got an interior as well. So I picked this up off of Facebook Marketplace for an incredible deal. Actually $2,200 on the spot. And it was just such a good deal that I couldn't pass it up. This thing had been listed for 3 weeks, actually 4 weeks by the time that I bought it. And I kind of find that to be an amazing time period because, you know, these cars are kind of going up in value. A lot of people are picking them up now and fixing them up. And this thing just being at $2,200, that seems like a steal. Now, when he listed it for sale, he did say that the car was misfiring on cylinders 4, 5, and 6, and he thought it either needed injectors or a DME. So the seller was completely honest about what issues the car had, and when I showed up, I brought some tools to kind of ensure that I was covering my butt when I bought it, because I want to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the motor. Because, you know, looking at the pictures, the body's in good condition, the interior is in good condition. Those are two things I'm not really good at. But the motor, as long as we can fix that up, then we'll have a nice driving car. So when I showed up to see this thing and I popped the hood, the first thing that I see is the engine bay exactly as you see it. Actually, he didn't even have this cover up, but I put that on myself because it's been raining outside and I don't want to get any water inside this motor. Now, when he showed it to me, as you can see, this car has no coils in it. He said that he took his coils off. I think he maybe returned them to get his money back, or the ones that he had originally with the car, they just weren't any good. So he said, bring your own coils if you want to try running it. Otherwise, the car is pretty stock. I mean, it does have a charge pipe and a blow-off valve, but I don't think that it's got any aftermarket besides maybe, like, I think the downpipe. So it does have catless downpipes as well. These are all things that he told me and he disclosed with me, but my biggest concern with this car was the engine. So I got my compression tester and I did a compression test on all the cylinders, and they came out to be about 150 PSI across the board, which is a great sign that this motor is healthy and that there isn't any like big piston damage or valve damage or anything crazy like that. Now, once I determined that the compression was good, I wanted to see if I could get the car to start. So I brought some coils with me that I actually borrowed from the 325 Xi, and fortunately enough, these coils are the same as the ones for the 335, so we were able to install them and try to start the car. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm gonna pull the coils back off of this car here. We're gonna shove them in the 335 and try to start it. All right, just like that, we've made the sacrifice, and I think we can give this thing a quick test start so I can show you guys exactly how this car runs, because it's debatable if it really runs or not. Let's see, put the key in, foot on the brake. I think that beeping is from the radio there. Well, it definitely starts up. We get a ton of warning messages, lights, and stuff like that. But man, when you let that thing start idling and cooling down from the cold start, you can see it's really just running on just a few cylinders. It's really 3 cylinders, guys. It's amazing that this thing stays running at all. So we're gonna go ahead and let's actually turn the motor off, because that's probably not the healthiest thing to do. But as you can see, this car is in dire condition. It definitely needs some help. Now, if we scan this car, we literally get a code that says cylinder cutout misfire, like cylinders 4, 5, and 6. And then we get the individual misfire codes for those 3 cylinders as well. And realistically, what this tells us, guys, is if one day you wake up, like the previous owner said, and you go to start up your 335 and just 3 cylinders are running, it's probably one of the failed MOSFETs. It's something I've actually diagnosed on these cars before, and a common failure if you look on the forums. Basically, you've got 2 banks, and each bank is controlled by this little circuit board piece, and when it fails, it'll take out that entire bank, and the injectors essentially aren't opening to provide fuel to the cylinders in order to ignite and keep the car running. So the car's only running on 3 cylinders, no fuel's being sprayed into the other ones, so it's just lubricating itself with oil. So probably not super good to drive, but also not like the worst thing if you have to move it around. And that's what I've been doing, is I've actually moved the car around here, got it on the trailer as well as off of the trailer by putting these coils in it, and it was enough to get it just moving under its own power. But we definitely have some stuff that we need to fix. Probably not just the DME, but a lot of other things as well, because this car has got some hidden surprises, and the longer that I look at it, the more things that I find wrong with it. So let me show you guys some more things that I found on this car since I've been able to get it home. Now let's kind of stick to the engine bay for a second, because there are some things up here I definitely noticed have been kind of jankily put together. So number one is that there is no fender liner over on this side. Now, good thing is it's in the back of the trunk, so we can probably reinstall it. And what another good thing is that the seller told me that he recently put on suspension arms. So it looks like maybe some of the suspension might be newer or aftermarket and had been replaced before. So that is great. Hopefully we have saved ourselves a little bit of money and effort there. Over on this side of the motor, you see that we have an aftermarket blow-off valve, some sort of Home Depot silicone and PVC solution to basically do a diverter valve delete on this motor. Personally, I don't mind the factory diverter valves. They're nice and quiet, and they do make good noise when you vent to atmosphere. But otherwise, you know, these things kind of take up a good bit of room, and it's also just a big eyesore having that red in the engine bay. Also, if you look at this power steering reservoir, you'll see that it's literally not connected to anything. It's just zip tied to this bracket here. So we definitely want to source the correct bracket for that and get it in the right location. The car does have down pipes, which is why it sounds pretty good. Previous owner told me that the turbos were replaced, and you know, I kind of believe him, because it does have an aftermarket inlet pipe. The only reason that you would change that is if you were, I don't know, running a ton of boost, or you had upgraded your turbos already. And he said that they were OEM turbos, so probably rebuilt factory size turbos, but that's fine. Those things are nice and reliable, and they pump enough air to make good power. Over here in the front, biggest thing that you see is an aftermarket or basically not painted bumper. He did paint it black on top of the black that it already is. So this is something that we'll probably be able to do ourselves, get it matched to the rest of the car. And I think it's an M Sport bumper, so it doesn't look that bad. But if you look behind the bumper, you'll see that probably the reason he replaced this is because this radiator support is cracked and damaged. I don't know what happened here. Usually if you were in an accident, this would probably break, I'd assume, but also probably with this thing here. And this is in fine condition, but there's definitely some damage that is residual on this car. So I want to look and see into getting one of these supports here. Hopefully it's just a generic E90 part and it's not 335i specific, because that way we could easily find it at the junkyard, because they've always got E90s at the junkyard. Over here by the brake fluid, a little more neglect. You can see that is the wrong color of brake fluid. High pressure fuel pump, you can kind of see down there, doesn't look to be that old. It might have been replaced before, which is great. And I think he also said that the low pressure fuel pump was replaced at some point. So this is all great news to hear, but part of the reason all these things have been replaced before is because of the mileage of the car. This car has almost 200,000 miles. It's got like 198, which is pretty high mileage, I will say, but I'm excited to kind of get into this thing, and we already determined that it has good compression. So I wonder if we can build like a nice, reliable, high horsepower 335 that also has high mileage and kind of disproves all the hate that you could have for taking one of these things to over 200,000 miles. And the last thing that I want to talk about while we're up here is that these headlights look like they've been filled up with water before. There's literally like algae, mold, or something inside of these that is absolutely disgusting. This one isn't too bad, but since these are the halogen pre-facelift, non-xenon, non-projector headlights, I really don't care for them, so I probably want to upgrade, and we'll keep our eyes on the junkyards and hopefully find some LCI headlights which are a direct fit and would really look good on the front of this car. So we can go ahead and close the hood now. Let's take a look over the rest of the car, because this thing has definitely a lot more stories to tell. Funny thing about the wheels is that originally we thought we were going to buy the car with original wheels, and then when I showed up they were on these things, and he wanted me to pay more money for them because he said that these were like $1,600 for the set. I don't know, they were not really my taste. They do look like they are sort of new though, so maybe we can get a good value out of them and trade them up for some better wheels. The interior is great. Just like I said, great condition. This is something I don't like to deal with. I don't want to have to buy seats and door panels and replace interiors on cars if I don't have to. But the interior looks great here. Factory sports seats, just a little bit of wear on the armrest, and the rear seats look great as well. There's this little wire coming up through the center console. I'm thinking that this car had like an aftermarket sound system before, so I want to make sure to get that removed. And then you can see this aftermarket Eon head unit, which basically, you know, goes right there, kind of shifts around the location of like the AC and gives it an aftermarket look. But it's disappointing because he already has the iDrive, and he told me that he broke the iDrive by installing this radio. So kind of silly. I feel like if I had the iDrive, I'd probably choose a different solution if I wanted to upgrade my audio system. But at least it works. Maybe we can sell it. Maybe we can get some OEM parts, because again, I'm not sure if I would want both of these. I think I just would want the iDrive to work. So I want to get into that. Hopefully it's something simple or stupid and we can get this system working again. There's also a lot of sand in this car. Actually, where we found this thing was about an hour away in Bushnell, Florida. It's a pretty remote area of Florida, and I'd say that probably has something to do with why this car took so long to sell on Facebook. And that's because if it's far away, not a lot of people want to drive out to gamble on something, and maybe it's a bad deal when they get there and they don't want to buy it and they wasted their time. But we ended up getting a really good deal on this one. You can see the door handle problem, super common on these cars, to just deteriorate right there, and then when you try to grab it, it just comes right off. The car has a couple of goodies that came with it. I don't know, he said that this was one of the bushings that needed to be replaced, but it only came with one. We got the factory manuals and such, and I think that's really it as far as what was extra in the car. It does have this funky looking wind deflector on the sunroof. I'm not a big fan, but I'm pretty sure that we can remove it using some of the clips here, and then it'll look really slick. Outside body is also probably as clean as the inside. Actually, we do have a little bit of clear coat damage that's right here on the door, which is unfortunate, but not a huge deal. Just would say that maybe the car could get wrapped at one point, maybe look better. Or just ignore it. Since the rest of the car is original paint, I probably wouldn't repaint the whole car just off of that, but hey, that's me. The back end looks pretty good. The exhaust, I think, is hanging lower down on one side than the other. And again, we are pre-LCI, so we kind of have different looking taillights than on the LCI cars. But maybe we'll go ahead and tint the corners red, and that'll give it a better look. And here in the back trunk, we have the extra parts that the seller included. Factory airbox, factory cabin filter, engine cover, and also the wheel well liner for the front of the car there. So I'm super curious to hear what you guys have to say about this car and if I got a good deal or not. Obviously, I do have to replace the DME. I have to buy a full set of coils, and that's just to get the car running on all 6 cylinders. We still don't know if there are other things at bay that are probably still troubling this car. I'm sure that it has a ton more codes for us to deal with. And there's also the fact of the matter that the car almost has 200,000 miles. So it's definitely due for some services, but I hope you guys are gonna welcome this car with open arms to the channel. I know we had a lot of new viewers come to the channel because of the 335i coupe build that we recently did, but now I'm ready to get started on this sedan, and who knows, if we can find the right E91 touring chassis, I would love to build this car into a 335i wagon. Just imagine it, guys, and think about all the potential with that build. So if you're as excited as I am to start this journey, go ahead and drop a like down below. Comment what you think we should do with this car next, or first I should say, once we get it running. I'm also thinking maybe a manual transmission swap would be really cool. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't yet. And as always, I hope everyone has an awesome day. Stay tuned for more content on this car, and we will see you in the next video.